Thank you, Mr. President, for your very kind introductions. And I appreciate you pointing out that I was in the Virginia legislature where we had similar legislation with presumptive eligibility for cardiac and other problems for firefighters. We were able to do that and a lot of other things because of your hard work. So President Schatberger, Mr. Kelly, Lang, Messner, and Levine, and firefighters from all over the country, good morning. Now I want to recognize your President for your unwavering, long-time commitment to ensuring health and safety for our nation's professional firefighters. Under your leadership, the IAFF has further strengthened its role as a fierce advocate not only for the well-being of your members, but also those on the front lines, making sure that our communities are safe. I want to take a moment to recognize the work that our firefighters perform every day, whether it's fighting fires in Northern California or just confronting the everyday challenges in your communities. I want to offer my sincere appreciation for the work that you do that is dangerous but vital. There are many groups that come to Capitol Hill every year with legislative agendas, but few deserve to be heard as much as firefighters. And I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad to see, every time I see groups, I see the gold and black t-shirts, so you know the firefighters are in the house. So. I was asked to say a word about some of the legislative issues, so let me begin by saying that I'm a proud supporter of the Fire and Safer grants, which provide firefighters with the resources you need to do your job so you can get your job done and come home safely. And I was also proud to vote for and as original co-sponsor of the reauthorization of the 9/11 Health and Compensation Act. And I also want to recognize your work in making National Firefighter Cancer Registry a reality. Now, I was an early supporter of the Firefighter Cancer Registration Act of 2018 and delighted that it was finally signed into law last July. Despite an overwhelming evidence that firefighters face higher risk of respiratory cancers, leukemia, and other types of cancer, the federal government has failed to address the specific health needs facing those who put their lives on the line for our safety every day. So a national firefighter cancer registration is an important step in the right direction. Your voices will continue to influence our work in Congress. In fact, you've already helped get us in the right direction in the House Education and Labor's priorities as we go forth in this new Congress. As you might have noticed, the first thing we did was to change the name of the committee from Education and Workforce to Education and Labor. That's because we're committed to pursuing an agenda that prioritizes the needs of workers and the middle class. Let me get this straight. There you go. That's because we're committed to pursuing an agenda that prioritizes the needs of workers and the middle class. The committee does not work with the Department of Workforce. We work with the Department of Labor. We're not working to strengthen workforce laws. We're working to strengthen labor laws. And so we are no longer the Committee on Education and Workforce. We're the Committee on Education and Labor. And that's important because we know that labor laws protect every worker's right to organize and collectively bargain. And those laws are under threat. That threat continues despite clear evidence that organizing allows working people to provide a better future for their families, allows them to work in a safe workplace, and allows people to retire with dignity and security. In fact, we know that union members earn a lot more, about 25% more than those who are not represented by a union. Union benefits, in fact, are long-lasting because we found that children of union members make more than children of non-union members. Unfortunately, union membership nationally has declined. While unions represented 33% of the workers in the 1950s, now only about 10% of workers belong to unions. The drop in the public sector unions has been attributed to the weakened power of public employee unions at the state and local level because decades, state leaders and legislative leaders in states across the country have eroded public employee unions in states like Wisconsin and other states using tactics like refusing to bargain in good faith and promotion of right-to-work laws. But over the past few years, we've been pushing back. Voters, judges, and advocates like you have been successful in our efforts to push back. States like New Hampshire, Missouri, my home state of Virginia, voters have voted against right-to-work laws. In fact, in Virginia, we fended off an attempt to bake right-to-work laws into our state constitution. Yet 26 states, including Virginia, continue to keep fundamentally unfair laws on the books that require people to pay for representation. It require unions to pay for representation for people who do not contribute a dime to the basic cost of representational activities, but still are able to benefit all of the benefits of union membership. To make matters worse, the Supreme Court recently launched an unprecedented attack on public sector unions and the rights of our country's 17.3 million public employees, including firefighters, in the ruling of Janus v. AFSCME. In that case, the Supreme Court overturned 4 decades of legal precedents and 22 state laws to undermine the ability of firefighters, police officers, teachers, and other public service employees to negotiate for a decent pay and fair workplace. We are fighting back because we know that unions build our middle class. These middle class jobs did not pop up by accident. They were forged by workers, auto workers, factory workers, and firefighters who negotiated for good pay. And so if we want to restore the balance of the economy and strengthen working families and communities, we should be making it easier, not harder, for working people, especially those who risk their lives every day to join a union. That's why I'm a proud supporter of H.R. 1154, the Public Service Employer-Employee Cooperation Act of 2019. This bill will guarantee the right of public safety employees to collectively bargain over wages and terms and conditions of employment. This bill creates a minimum standard for collective bargaining that all states must meet to ensure that firefighters, law enforcement officers, and other first responders have the freedom to negotiate for fair pay and safe workplaces. And for those states like Virginia that prohibit public employees from collective bargaining, this bill will encourage state governments to adopt basic collective bargaining rights for public safety employees. In 2007, this bipartisan bill was reported out of the Education and Labor Committee and passed on the floor with an overwhelming margin of 314 to 97. And I look forward to broad bipartisan support again as we get this bill passed in the House. In addition, I also plan to reintroduce the Workers' Freedom to Negotiate Act, a comprehensive bill to strengthen workers' rights by reforming the National Labor Relations Act. It is a key part of our renewed effort in Congress to reverse decades of stagnant wages. And so another initiative that we are pushing is an increase in the minimum wage, $15 an hour by 2024. We have already, in the Education and Labor Committee, reported the bill, so it's now on the floor of the House of Representatives. We also need to ensure increases in pay to make sure that all of those who risk their lives in service to our communities can support themselves, care for their families, and retire with dignity. Through all of this, we will continue to stand up for our shared values and fight for what we believe in, but your passion, energy, voice, and commitment are also needed. So please continue to make sure that your voices are heard. Please stay engaged, remain vigilant, and continue the momentum from this convention throughout the year. And please know that at every rally, we're going to be looking out for those gold and black T-shirts. So again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and thank you again for all you do, not only on behalf of your 300,000 members, but also on behalf of every American who is safer today because of your work. Thank you very much.